Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you are, what time you are watching this. My name is Winston, and it's time for another in our monthly webinar series. We actually missed 2 months. We missed March and we missed April, so I said to myself, I have to come back for this month because we can't afford to miss another month. It's been really hectic over here. Anyway, this webinar or this month's webinar, we're going to be focusing on this particular case study slash topic, which is using customer insights to increase lead quality and quantity by 347.2% in 90 days. So we're basically going to walk through how we were able to achieve that for our client. So as usual, we always like to give the backstory before we actually dig into the meat of the matter, so to speak. So the backstory behind this is a B2C company. They have an amazing product, great product. They have an amazing and great customer stories and testimonials. But the challenge that they were having is when it came onto their content, when it came onto their campaigns in terms of their ads, they weren't necessarily seeing the returns that they were expecting from it, especially with such amazing stories that they were generating from this particular product. So we were basically charged with coming in and kind of helping them understand how could they increase their lead quantity month over month, which we'll get into later on. But also, one of the things that we realized is that even though they had a great product, even though they had some great customer stories, the thing about it is that they took a very mass audience, a very mass and broad and wide audience approach when it came onto their content, when it came onto their campaigns, rather than taking a very niche approach to how they were executing their marketing and even content marketing. And so that's what we're going to talk about, how we're able to address this particular challenge for them. So as usual, we're going to talk about the webinar flow. Part 1 is the process used for gathering the customer data. Part 2 is we're going to be talking about building and executing the go-to-market content strategy. So let's go into part 1, the process used for gathering the customer data. Now, the first thing that we did, which we always do when we enter any sort of client engagement or arrangement, is we have to speak to internal stakeholders. So the first thing that we did is we spoke to sales to understand the criteria that determines high qualified leads based on how they determine high qualified leads and based on past historical data or prospects that they would have spoken to in terms of what makes the best leads for them. The second set of stakeholders that we spoke to was customer success to identify customers with a higher success rate, meaning who were the customers that when they use this particular product seem to get the highest success rate from it, seem to get the highest benefit from it, seem to get the highest value from it. The third thing that we did is we assessed to identify the characteristics between high quality leads and high success rate leads, or should I say high success rate customers. So we were looking on, well, what necessarily are the characteristics that make a high qualified lead versus a high success rate customer. The fourth thing that we did is we sent surveys to these two groups to gain more insight. So we sent the same set of surveys to the high qualified leads, the same thing with the customers with a high success rate. So in combined, the list came up to about 42 people that we surveyed overall. Now, from that 42, we selected 10 customers from the list to actually interview to get deeper insights on. Now, these are the actual customers and not the qualified leads, or should I say what sales would probably consider high qualified leads. And then the final step is we created our ICP, or our ideal customer profile. I like to call them our best fit buyers. And we also developed the positioning and the messaging based on the insights that we got from those interviews, from those surveys, speaking with sales and customer success. Now, these are just some of the questions that we actually ask customers during the entire interview process. The first one is, how did they first learn about the brand? Because we wanted to know, well, how did they first learn about the brand in terms of which channels did they first, in terms of that first touch that they found out about the brand. Second question is to describe your struggle that made you decide to search for a solution. So what was happening in their life or decide to search for this particular solution. Describe the moment that made you say, I have to find help, meaning that something that made them decide to actually search for the solution in the first place. And then the fourth question is we wanted them to walk us through the process in step-by-step detailing searching for a solution that eventually led to our client's brand, because we wanted to understand their customer journey rather than us assuming that we knew what their customer journey was that led to them finding our client's brand and becoming a customer. Number 5 is what was the moment that made you feel this brand was the best choice for you compared to others you've tried? Meaning, what's that in terms of that first value, that aha moment that they got from actually using the product? Number 6 is how did the product help you overcome the challenge from question 2, which is describe your struggle that made you decide to search for a solution. And 7 is what was the final outcome after using the product, because we wanted to know what was the particular results that they actually got or the benefit from using this particular product. So just to share with you some of the insights from the interviews. Number 1, what we found out was that most leads came from referrals and Google search, which means there was a huge opportunity for us to actually tap into other channels. The second thing is that outside of immediate network, hardly anyone knew the brand, so they had very little brand recognition or brand visibility. And the third insight that we got was they really had powerful stories from customers that weren't being highlighted, that I mentioned at the beginning of this particular webinar. So some of the opportunities we got from those insights is, number 1, we wanted to increase, or we found out that we could increase awareness from new channels such as organic social, since most of their customers and leads came through referrals and Google search. Number 2 is from those channels we realized, or should I say from those new channels, we could actually have the opportunity to generate new sales opportunities for them. And the final thing is that we could actually leverage those customer stories to generate demand and build authority, which I'll actually walk through later on how we were able to do that. Now, the other thing that we looked at when we were actually creating our ICP is certain qualification criteria based on those customers with a higher success rate and based on those high qualified leads that sales would have mentioned, and also those insights from the customer interviews. So we were looking at things such as demographic info, which is their age range, profession, income level, location, gender, which, believe it or not, actually played a part in who specifically would actually decide to use such a product. Psychographic info, such as what were the triggers that led to them wanting to search for a solution, what were their motivations in terms of what were they hoping to achieve, or what actually motivated them to search for a solution in the first place, what are some of the fears and anxieties that either led them to search for a solution or would have actually prevented them from purchasing our client solution. And then the final thing is, what are those aspirations, what is the particular outcome that they were hoping to get from using this particular solution. And then the final thing that we looked at are the behavioral info, such as something called jobs to be done, or what specific use case or what specific scenarios would they actually need to execute, or were they trying to execute that they would require our client solution. What was the current solution that they were using that wasn't really working for them, what were the current problems with using that particular solution, and what were some of the alternatives that they were searching for outside of our clients' products. Alright, part 2, we're going to talk about building and executing the go-to-market strategy. So we're ready to get into the good stuff. So the first question that we asked ourselves is, what should our go-to-market content strategy be? And for this, we want to focus on 4 areas, which we typically focus on when we're developing any sort of go-to-market content strategy, which is number 1, the position and the messaging. How would we position our client's brand? Number 2 is the content assets. Number 3 is the ad campaigns that we wanted to roll out. And number 4, what is that go-to-market motion in terms of what do we need to do to execute on that particular strategy. So position and messaging simply means that we wanted to get their best fit buyers based on that ICP that we develop, to see them as the trusted go-to expert to help solve their particular problems, differentiate them from their competitors, and also to communicate that differentiation and authority in several different ways. The second thing is with the content assets, we're looking at how can we create and map content to each stage of their customer's journey or their buying process, from not knowing about our client's brand to becoming paying customers that sees the value in what they have to offer.
The third thing is the ad campaigns in terms of what are those ad creatives and copy for the best fit customer segments that are relevant and communicate what our clients offer, the benefit of it, and how everything ties into the overall marketing and sales process that we were developing. And the final thing is that go-to-market motion, which is basically what is our execution plan to help build authority and drive qualified leads through different channels that show the most promise and are the most effective in helping us achieve our goal. So as I mentioned, two of those channels would have been the referrals and Google search, but we wanted to also explore other channels that could yield certain possibilities for additional channels that would generate qualified leads for our clients. Alright, so we're talking about what are those specific content assets, right? Now, you may not be able to see the first one, but this basically says brand activation. So there are three different types of content that we wanted to create. Brand activation content is content that creates attention and affinity for the brand and awareness for our clients' products. Demand generation content is that type of content which educates our best fit customers or our best fit audience and positions the brand as a go-to expert for what they offer. And finally, lead generation content is that content that captures and converts the best fit buyers who are ready to buy right now. So this is basically how you want to look at it in terms of audience size. So you have the mass audience, your target audience or your total addressable market, and then you have your best fit buyers or your ICP. Now your mass audience is where your brand activation content would come in. So your mass audience is actually a mix of both non-buyers and buyers, people who would have a need for your particular product, or they may not have a need for your particular product, but they can actually help get your brand or create awareness for your brand to those who would actually have a need for your product. Your target audience is where you'd focus your demand generation effort. So that's basically who your potential customers or clients would be on a high level that you want to create that brand authority around. And then you have your best fit buyers, who are the best and most ideal prospects who you'd actually want to target to maximize your ad spend and whatever other investments that you would actually use for this particular lead gen campaign. So let's put it in the context of our particular client and this particular go-to-market strategy. So for brand activation, this is what it looked like. So the first thing that we did is we craft a strategic narrative. Now, a strategic narrative is really that cross between, well, what's the story that the company or the brand wants to tell that would actually resonate with their audience, and then also what is it that the audience actually wants to learn or know about the brand that would actually create that affinity. So it's kind of like a cross between what the brand wants to talk about and what the audience wants to actually hear that's of interest and benefit to them. So once we craft the strategic brand narrative, then we worked with a PR partner to actually create a digital and offline PR campaign. Then once we did that, then we distribute across several digital and offline channels. So we included traditional media like the TV, radio, newspaper. But then we also use social media as well to kind of amplify that message and post organically. And then as well, for those particular traditional media interviews, really the television ones, then we would amplify the reach with social media ads and also amplify some of the videos that we did online as well. So a part of that strategic brand narrative that we use, we also incorporated interviews and testimonials from their best fit customers who really love the product, those ones who had the high success rate. We incorporated them as well as a part of the entire story that we were trying to tell about our client's brand, that will hopefully, or should I say, it actually did create some sort of affinity for those best fit buyers that we were trying to reach out to as well. Then our demand generation process is where we created content assets. So based on the interviews that we did, based on certain questions that we asked in the survey, we looked at what were the problems that either their high qualified leads were having or their current best fit customers were having. And we also looked at different use cases in terms of what scenario would have to be true that would cause a customer to actually have a need and use this particular product. Once we created all those different content assets, which would be whether it's a blog post, whether it's certain videos that we did for YouTube or even for organic social, Then we distribute it across certain own channels, which would be the company's website and blog, its YouTube channel, even though it's technically not owned, but we still would consider it owned in this particular scenario, and also their email. Then once we did that, then we repurpose those long form content assets for social media channels that we distributed, so small clips or certain graphics that would help to build that authority around certain topics that we identified that would have been of interest to their customers and audience. And then again, we amplify the reach with social media ads to give it more reach and reach a wider audience of the best fit buyers that we were trying to go after. Then finally, for lead generation efforts, we looked at what were the highest converting channels, which one of them I mentioned is Google. So we focused a lot around Google, where we created long tail keywords for paid search. So this kind of focused around those Google search ads, around those long tail keywords that their customers mentioned that they would have searched for, that led to our client's brand. Bottom of funnel articles as well, where we would focus around those same long tail keywords and create bottom of funnel articles with a call to action that says, hey, book a call with sales, or visit this product, or check out the product, or so on. Whatever strong call to action that would be direct response to lead to an actual lead being generated. And then we also kind of tested out direct response social media ads, because we wanted to see if there's something there. They didn't perform as well as the Google ads, but we still got some positive leads from those where we use Facebook and Instagram lead gen forms. So what we did is we ran a pilot execution for the first 30 days, because we didn't want to just throw our entire ad budget behind everything. We didn't want to throw all of our, creating content assets around everything. So we wanted to test the positioning to ensure that the particular positioning that we came up with and we crafted based on those customer insights and speaking with sales and customer success, that it actually made sense and resonated and was relevant to the particular best fit buyers that we were trying to target. We tested the messaging as well. We tested the problem resonance, which means that when we mention this particular problem based on those insights to our best fit buyers or certain high qualified leads, did the problem that we mentioned resonate with them? Because we tested about 3 or 4 different problem statements to see which one resonated with them the most, and then based on that we would choose the best 1 or 2 to actually execute or place within our marketing campaigns and content. We tested the value prop as well, meaning based on those problems, if we position our value prop and say, hey, this is the particular benefit that you get from this particular product, which particular value prop that we tested would have actually resonated the most with buyers and cause them to actually want to speak to sales or want to learn more about the product. And as I mentioned, we also tested new channels such as Instagram and Facebook for this particular client. So some of the positive signals we were looking for to tell whether or not we got a hit or a miss is increased engagement on organic and paid content and ads, qualitative feedback from people within the comments, such as they say, hey, this really resonates with me, or hey, you guys are thinking exactly, or you guys are saying exactly what I was thinking, or saying this is a really great piece of content because we struggle with this exact same problem, or hey, it's almost like you guys are reading our minds. So we look for certain signals in terms of that qualitative feedback. Increased traffic to key web pages, so 3 particular pages. So we created a specific landing page for this particular campaign, but there are also other pages such as the product page that the client had on their website to see did we see a particular increase in traffic over this period that we were actually testing different things. And also, of course, increase qualified leads from the current 30 days compared to the previous 30 days before we actually started working with the client. So this is just some of the results after 90 days. So we use that first 30 days for testing, and in the other 60 days, once we found which ones were the winners, to actually execute for the full 90 days. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we saw an increase in qualified leads of 347.2%, which basically is 125 marketing qualified leads compared to the client's average before of 12 per month. And from those 125 marketing qualified leads, or MQLs, we actually had 82 which were sales qualified leads or opportunities, or SQOs, which is from a MQL to SQO conversion rate. We saw that as a 65.6% conversion rate. Now, it's very important for me to stress and reiterate that I can honestly say that I don't think we did anything that special. I mean, they already had a great product. They already had, I would think, some level of product market fit. They already had some great customer testimonials and stories. But I think where they were really missing the mark is that they were trying to take a very broad and mass audience approach to how they were executing their campaign, to how they were executing their content marketing strategies. So what we did is kind of come in to help them put some sort of focus and structure and strategy around really targeting those people who would be the best fit for them. And that's really what I think the value is that we deliver to help them to achieve these particular results. And now we're in the process of actually putting together a podcast for them to actually further build that brand affinity and actually create more demand and position them further as experts within the market that they're in. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching this. Another quick one. Let's connect. I post content almost daily, if not every day, on LinkedIn. You can follow me and connect with me at Winston A. Henderson. And if it is that you actually interested in us executing your content marketing strategy for you, you can visit ICADmarketing.com. You can click the book intro call to actually have one of our reps or even myself speak with you to have that discovery call to see if ICAD Marketing can actually help and if we're actually a fit for your particular business and what you're hoping to achieve. So with that said, thank you very much for watching this. Take care and all the best.